Today we're diving into some movies to figure out what is real and what is not, because unless you work in the industry, it's kind of hard to tell. Trigger alert, there is blood. The lip licking, it's like... She's like, I can taste the blood. I can taste the Caro syrup. I was told that this was real pig's blood. How this became an urban legend, I have no idea, because in actuality, no, this is not real. They didn't actually use pig's blood and dump it on her. This is a mix of Caro syrup and red food dye. It's explained here in Far Out Magazine, where the directing and production team explain how they made the syrup. One thing that I do think is interesting, though, is that once it was dumped on her in this first take, the actress did say that she wore that outfit and the blood stains on her for a couple of days for continuity reasons. Continuity meaning you're not going to be able to apply that same splash onto the actress every single time. So if you stop one day and you come back the next, the blood might be in different spots on her face. So supposedly she just left it on. Overall, this is way better than using real pig's blood, which we do not do on a film set, because that is a biological hazard and also very dangerous for your actor. So don't do that. That is hard to watch. I have to watch it again to react to it. When I first watched this, I obviously had a visceral reaction. I was just like, oh my God, he's stabbing her, and we're seeing it, and it's so raw and brutal that it's hard to watch, right? But what I thought was most interesting about this is that Fincher did not want to use real blood because he thought it would take too long to reset the scene every single time to put the fake blood on the dress. So this is actually CGI. This is fake blood in a digital sense. But watching it a second time, you can actually tell, because not that I'm an expert on people getting stabbed. Let's be clear about that. But if you were to stab through a dress into someone, one, it would shred the fabric a little bit. And then two, when you look at this, the way that the blood is pooling, it's almost like a gradient. It looks kind of tie-dye when it comes out. It's almost like the plasma is a little bit thinner along the edges as it's clouding out. If you've ever hurt yourself and you've bled onto your clothing, you know that it's all the same thickness. It doesn't thin out as it pools. It might thin out if the fabric is wet, but her clothing looks dry right here. And so that's the only way that I can tell that this is CGI. Overall, though, I think in terms of how it's wrapping around the fabric, this looks absolutely incredible. And it's such a quick shot that you're not really going to be overthinking it like I am right now. I'm taking a look at it at a deeper level, obviously. And I think it's a really smart move to not have to reset on production, because time on set is very expensive when you're waiting for an entire crew. Definitely smarter to do this in post-production. I love this movie so much. This is probably one of my favorite films. He's just running in slow-mo. Oh my gosh, our DJ right there. Oh my God. The number of gunshots going through this man with explosions in the background for absolutely no reason. Oh my God, Ben Stiller's just... So obviously this is a parody of Platoon. If you haven't seen Platoon, they're making fun of this scene, which is, it's supposed to be a really sad scene, but they're kind of making fun of the fact that in Hollywood, you can just take like 30 bullet wounds and keep going. I mean, we've seen this in things like John Wick, where there's just bullets everywhere, and it's meant to be fun and entertaining because that's what movies are. Obviously, they're not shooting Ben Stiller with a bunch of bullets and he's not like, da, 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 oh, getting shot up. There is something that we use called a squib. This is a little air pressure device with fake blood in it that you can tuck under somebody's clothing. It blasts out through and it sprays blood all over. You can make it spray like mist, something like Kill Bill. You can have more like blood gushing out. You can have a gunshot wound and then just have it sort of cool out slowly. So there's different ways that you can have it function. And it's really funny to me to think about the behind the scenes of this, where he's just standing there and they're getting ready to film and they're just piling all these blood squibs on top of him. And somebody in the background is literally with a remote just being like, and Ben Stiller's just like, so this is absolutely hilarious acting. It's all fake. This is just a great movie.
Hey! Lay your palms flat on that tabletop. If you lift those palms off that turtle shell tabletop, Mr. Pooch is gonna let loose with both barrels that sawed off.
So right now what I'm doing is I'm actually looking for the cut. Not the cut, the blood wound cut, but the camera cut. So this was an on-set rumor where supposedly Leonardo DiCaprio cut his hand, there was real blood, and then he smears it all over his co-actress who's playing Hildy's face. And some of this is true and some of this is not. So the part that's true is, yes, he did cut his hand on set. He played out the rest of the scene, and then obviously they called cut. They cleaned it up, but Tarantino loved this so much. So what they did was mixed up some fake blood. They put the fake blood on his hands, and then he carried out the rest of the scene. So no, he did not actually smear his real blood all over the actress's face. That would be a huge breach of trust between talent. And also that would, again, be a biological hazard. You don't want to be doing that to people because that's just pretty gross, right? Overall, this becomes a very memorable scene, and it created a little bit of controversy and stir, so I'm sure for a Tarantino film, anything involving blood and controversy, he probably loves it. So this is a movie I actually have not seen. I'm actually not big into horror films or anything. However, I do know about the history of this one just because it served as almost a case study when I went to film school of both what to do and what not to do. One, it is a lower budget film and they were able to pull off a really terrifying story without having to do ridiculous amounts of production or CGI or things like that. However, one thing that they did, which is a big no-no on a film set, is that they used real blood and animal parts in the household. So this is something that we do not do, and it's for a very specific reason. If you haven't figured it out by now, it's because it's a biological hazard to both your film crew and your talent. So this is something that you do not want to do because it's disgusting, right? Just don't do that. It's just, ugh. You don't actually want animal body parts all over a film set. Here they're shooting in Texas, and supposedly this was just a nightmare to shoot because it's in the Texas heat. Everything becomes really warm, it becomes pungent. Supposedly the crew and talent would exit the house and just vomit because it was that bad. This is a terrible idea. We always want to use fake stuff. That's why we have production design teams that come in and make fake props, fake blood, things that look similar but aren't the real materials so that we can preserve the set and also make a good environment for people to work in. Film crews are already working hard enough and they already have long, difficult hours. You don't need to make their job any more difficult. Do not put real blood on a film set. That's just a bad idea. What other movies would you like me to react to? And what movies are you looking at where you're like, I don't know, is that real or is that fake? Send it over so I can take a look. And also, if you love looking at how movies are made and what's realistic or not, I have an entire series called Real versus Real, where I break down movies, sword fighting, props, stunts, things like that to see how realistic are things. That video is right over here, so check it out.